Good evening, and welcome to the regular meeting of the Eastchester Board of Fire Commissioners for Thursday, April 11, 2019. Tonight's meeting was called to order at 7 p.m. and immediately moved into executive session. And I would like to make a motion to open up public session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Laurie, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, thank you. Tonight, we're going to start with our treasurer's report. So, Jamie, if you can take the podium.
So tonight we're looking at the financials through March 31st. They currently present a net budget deficit of approximately $8,000. This is primarily, again, as we talk about, due to timing issues of when some of the bills have been received. We haven't received as many certs yet, and also the progress payment that we made on the Pierce pumpers that was not part of the budget, which we're going to talk about in a second. Otherwise, just to mention, I had discussed this with the auditors, when we're looking at a snapshot through the current period of time, obviously it's all still very fluid. It's more, when we're looking through the current period, just for like warning signs of places where we might be trending over. But a lot of the times there are going to be timing differences throughout the year that don't necessarily mean we're under or over budget. It's really just timing. But again, for anywhere where we're tracking where we may be over budget, that's a good thing to know. And I do plan at next month's meeting to recommend budget transfers for any line items where we either already know we're over, maybe we've had to make some big purchases at the beginning of the year, or where we're trending that way. But for tonight, I do want to request a budget modification. So this is a little bit different than a transfer, but last year when we put together our budget, our intention was to use our surplus funds, our unreserved money, to make that final payment on the Pierce pumpers. However, we didn't show that as an appropriated fund balance on our budget. All we showed appropriated was the approximate $1 million that we're anticipating for a ladder truck. So I am just asking to modify our budget to show that the appropriated fund balance was from $1 million to the $1,177,993.61. That's again just to make the budget in line with what the intention behind the budget was, and then that'll balance out since we just made that payment and it's not accounted for in the budget.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So other than that, we did have our audit conducted in March. We had our auditors in. We are waiting on draft statements. We should have them probably next week. And then we'll have those, we'll review them, finalize them, and then they'll be available for the public. We did file our AUD with the state of New York. One thing that came up during the audit and also had been raised by our insurance broker, and this is something we've known, kind of something we likely should do, is to have an appraisal done. We had one done before, but it's been like about 15 years has passed since the last time that we did it. It's just a good way to keep track of the assets that we have. It's becoming a little bit more of a focus on our audit, that they're looking at our capital assets. It's not totally necessary, but our audit firm is coming up with some more guidelines on what they want to see. And since we are, planning a lot of acquisitions and disposals, it's probably time that we have something like this. And it is a helpful tool, again, for both the insurance and the audit going forward. So I received a proposal from Industrial Appraisal Company. It is the company that did this for us back in 2004. And part of the benefit of that is that they are familiar with our footprint. They were able to kind of get us a quote very quickly. They have their tags on, because part of the process is they go in and they actually tag our assets that they then are able to scan. So they're able to use what's already there as a base. We know we still have some old stuff laying around, so there is going to be some benefit to that. And like I said, I showed the proposal to our auditors. It does what we need it to do. And our auditors also said it's in line with other proposals they've seen from other providers. So I think that's something, I would highly recommend that we move forward with. I will just point out because I asked them, so if you read the proposal, there's two thresholds. So one is for the dollar amount at which they will tag an item, and another is for the dollar amount which they will separately track it in the report. So the way the proposal is written right now, it's everything $1,000 and up will have a tag, and everything $5,000 and up will be tracked on its own specific line item on the report. We can change those thresholds. It doesn't significantly alter. So the cost of the contract is, I think, $6,560.
Yeah, $6,500, yeah.
$6,500. If we wanted to change those thresholds, if we wanted to go like below $2,500 for tracking individually on the report, it's going to change the proposal about $700 to $800. So that's something, if you'd like to see, if you think there's more items that you'd like to see individually laid out, or with the tracking. I talked to the company, they said some do it for like theft reasons. They'll put tags on everything $100 and above, and then the companies will do their own inventories to sort of track what's walking off. That's not why we're doing this, but that's some reasons why people would maybe do lower thresholds. And then again, for purposes of the report, if you would just like to see more detail laid out. So that's not a huge cost difference, if that's something that you want to consider. But otherwise, I provided the proposal, so I'm hoping that that's something that the board will move forward with.
Okay.
And other than that, I did start the process with Treasury Direct of opening our account. There is additional paperwork that needs to be done, mostly to verify like my authorization over our account. So I've provided everything that they've asked for, but I'm imagining that it's going to take a little bit. So we don't have the account active yet. But once we do, I can start investing as soon as the board provides guidance on thresholds that they're looking for at this point in time.
Okay.
And then the last thing I have here is just, we do anticipate receiving our tax collection next month in the full amount of $17,241,456.33.
Okay.
Okay? So the two things, if you can just make a motion for the budget modification, and
Right.
if the board is open to the appraisal.
Right. All right. So I will start to make a motion to approve the budget modification of $1,177,161. Is that accurate?
$993.61.
$993.61. All right. So one more time, tell me what it is.
$1,177,993.61.
61. Okay. So I would make that motion and ask for a second.
Second.
And any discussion with that? Anybody?
No, we purchased 3 fire trucks, just so
Right.
that the world knows. We bought three
Yeah. Three
very
of
nice
many.
fire trucks that everybody's very happy with, it seems like, which is an unusual event at the firehouse, but it seems to be the case.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, motion carries. Yeah, thank you, Dennis. The second motion, okay, so what I'll propose the following motion for the property appraisal, and I suspect that we're fine with it as it was written, right? We're not looking for any modifications to the 2,300 threshold, or do we feel that we want to leave that open for a
I think the
change?
smaller threshold's better for accountability.
But that will also increase the cost,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, but it's, like I said,
So-
about $700 to
Leave it
$800.
So why don't we?
Leave where it is then.
Well-
It's not like a high-value
Right.
contract.
I mean, we can totally just set the threshold higher, and you'll use your discretion with the board's input, that when it comes down to it, we can have it up to this amount, and then you'll come back to us and let us know what it is. And if it exceeds that, then we'll have to talk again, but, all right, so let's do, all right, so pursuant to the direction and advice of the district treasurer, district attorneys, and its auditing firm, the board is to consider and approve a proposal submitted by Industrial Appraisal Company, IAC, to conduct an appraisal of fire district assets, including but not limited to firehouse properties, apparatus, fleet vehicles, and operating equipment. In addition, IAC will incorporate data and information relating to land parcels and site improvements which were previously appraised and recorded some years ago, and will consolidate with new appraisal report. In light of the above, I would ask for a motion from the board to permit the chairman and the board to execute this proposal between the Eastchester Fire District and Industrial Appraisal Company for these services in the amount not to exceed $10,000 for the year 2019, with the understanding that any subsequent renewal of these services for year 2020 and so on will be proposed to the board by our treasurer at such time and prior to any approval of additional work. So do I have a motion on that?
I'll make that motion.
Dennis, and a second. Tom, are all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, motion carries, and I'm an aye.
We got one more thing to do. Time we meet next time around, this is already April, we want to invest some money on a dry run, not more than a dry run, with Treasury Direct. So why don't we
Invest
pick a
enough.
number?
We invest enough with NISHIP.
Excuse me?
We give enough to NISHIP.
Yeah, so why don't we pick $100,000 to do?
I think that's fine. I think even at the last meeting, you threw that number out there. I think that's fine.
And-
For a test
and-
run.
And well, yeah, in 30-day bills, 90,
Yeah.
30-day bills, which are auctioned every Tuesday, I believe. And you may not be able to, I don't know if you can buy 100 of 30 days. You might have to buy 1 million. But in any case, if we can buy the 30-day bills in $100,000 denominations, we should do that. We might have to buy $1 million denominations. I don't know if they come in, 30 days come in hundreds.
Can you let us know? Can you look into it?
Yes.
Maybe send us some communication? And, I think the board would want to discuss if we're putting $1 million in initially
Yeah.
versus 100. So I think 100 or even 500 would be
Yeah.
simple. I
Right.
think $1 million as a test run may not sit as easy.
It's the federal
with
government,
everybody.
right? Do we
Right.
trust them?
It's a Treasury, it's a Treasury, it's, Federal Reserve Bank of New York.
Right, it's,
But
sure, we're fine.
interestingly, our auditor overheard Jamie and I talking about treasuries, and he mentioned this program called New York Class, which is, I found it amazing. Which a little village upstate New York has decided to do a cooperative, where the cooperative is, just like you have cooperative purchasing, they are a cooperative money pool manager, and some money management, a registered investment advisor in Denver, Colorado, has decided to be the investment manager for this pool of money, which mostly invests in treasuries. And so I've been reading on all those documents in the last 2 days because I found it it's bizarre that 400 municipalities have seemed to invest in this when the lead agency is a little village up in, upstate New York, which it's like, did anybody do their homework? Did anybody do any due diligence? Did anybody read an ADV? It's like, to me, it's breathtaking that it's happening. So the Treasury Direct is a much better way to go.
And if I may add one thing, probably a plan, because we know how much money we're getting. You just stated the $17 million. We won't invest all of that, obviously, after a test run. But what we will probably want is a plan of when we're going to be expending the money throughout the year, so we know what, do we want to go 30, 3 months, 6 months, so we can plan to have it coming back to us as it's needed.
Sure, not a problem.
All right, great.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. All right, with that, I will move on to the payment of bills. The board has reviewed this month's bills and warrants and makes a motion to pay them. I will make the motion to pay the following warrants and look for a second. First set of warrants dated April 1, 2019, totaling $166,625.17. Second set of warrants dated April 11, 2019, totaling $90,541.47. And one credit card bill dated April 18, 2019, totaling $4,299.58. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Roche. All in discussion? No. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, great. All right, so we're going to move on now. Chief's report. Chief Tween?
Thank you, Commissioner. Good evening.
Good evening.
Monthly activity report for March 2019. We had 310 alarms, 15 were fire-related, 160 were EMS and rescue-related. We gave mutual aid to 4 departments, New Rochelle, Greenville, Scarsdale, and Yonkers Fire Departments, and we received mutual aid one time from New Rochelle Fire Department. That was at a house fire in Bronxville. Group 3 and Captain Stupple were working. They did a very good job, which started as an exterior house fire that spread to the interior walls. They were able to put that out in quick order, and save the house from being destroyed. So good work by Group 3 and Captain Stupple. The prep work for the light path tie lines continues. I believe the board should approve signing the contract for the 6 tie lines for the radio system. The pricing is at the Westchester County contract pricing, so it's much cheaper. It's $1,200 would be the normal commercial rate, and the Westchester County contract pricing is $400 per tie line. We have 6, 2 from headquarters to Westchester 60 Control, 1 from headquarters to Lawrence Hospital, 1 from headquarters to Station 4, 1 to Station 5, and 1 to building on Garth Road. So because since Verizon is no longer going to maintain their copper tie lines, I don't believe at the last meeting or the meeting before that we approved signing on with them. We did approve signing the property access agreements, but I don't know that the board approved the $400 a month for each of the 6 tie lines. So I believe we need to do that if we want to keep our radio system up and running. Vehicle maintenance continues for the use of outside vendors. Ruscon reports engine 27 needs a new transmission. With the arrival of the new apparatus, we must decide which vehicles to surplus. Engine 27 has the least value, and I suggest we keep it in the rear yard for spare parts for the 2 American LaFrance apparatus that we will still maintain in the fleet, which will be the old Engine 30 and Tower Ladder 17. Ruscon has made that recommendation, and they've already used parts off the old Engine 27 to repair parts on Tower Ladder 17. I would recommend then that we surplus the current Engine 28, which is the 1993 or 1994 Pierce pumper, and the American LaFrance Engine 31, a 2001 American LaFrance. So I know there had been some discussion on which actual website we would want to use, if we want to use the AAR bids that we use to do the vehicles. One of the commissioners suggested another website, and I've had 2 or 3 different salespeople that offer their services to sell them, as a consignment sort of thing. And I was wondering if the board has a preference, or do they just want me to use my best judgment on the website as to how to surplus Engine 28 and Engine 31. Maintenance mechanic Tim Dalton has been busy with several projects, and he's also helping prepare the new engines for service. He's brought equipment that's been removed from the current fleet out to Long Island, where they're installing it on the new engines. The final group of firefighters will be trained on the new engines tomorrow, and there's a few punch list items that must be addressed on the new Engine 27, but it should enter service early next week, and then the other engines will be stepped in later this month. Fire prevention and code enforcement activities continue with plan reviews and inspections, and there are currently still 2 members on long-term absence. We have 3 Eastchester High School students who have signed up for the WISE internship with the Eastchester Fire Department. The first student will begin his internship around May 6th. They're all seniors in Eastchester High School. And I emailed a request from a 4th person who is a non-resident, and the board can make a decision on that one. I received a request from Bergen County, New Jersey Department of Public Safety for approval of sharing our primary operations channel of 453.6750 megahertz. At the recommendation of our radio vendor, I have objected to their request until they provide more information, specifically where is their transmitter location, what is the height of the antenna, and what is the power being transmitted over the antenna. So we'll see if they respond to that, and if they do, we'll see what ESS, just to make sure that there's no problems interfering with our communications. As last year, I went to the PERMA annual member conference. It is a 2-day conference, and PERMA pays for the hotel night for the night between the 2 days, but they don't pay for the night before. And since it starts at 8 a.m. on May 23rd, I request permission to use the department credit card to pay for lodging, as I will stay up there the night of the 22nd and the 23rd. I take classes on workers' compensation issues, but our credit card policy specifically prohibits using a credit card to pay for hotels unless I get prior approval from the board. So I'm asking, as last year, if I could pay for the hotel room on the company credit card. And finally, I ask the board to close tonight's meeting with a moment of silence in memory of longtime Waverly Engine Company volunteer firefighter Kenny Herbert, who passed away on March 13, 2019. Kenny joined the Waverly Engine Company on April 14th, 1977, and was issued badge 1650. I was a volunteer with Kenny. He was a very nice guy, and I would just ask the board adjourn the meeting in his memory.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay.
The board did discuss, I think we're all in agreement that your credit card use is
Thank you.
approved for your
Okay.
trip. As far as as you mentioned before, the auction site, I think we would leave it up to your best judgment. I know that Commissioner Winter had
Yep.
thoughts. You could take it up with him. I mean, I think the most of us are just,
Yep.
whatever you feel most comfortable with. If it's not the AAR bids, it's, what was the other one?
Auctions International.
Auctions International, look into that. I think one of those two are fine. I don't know if we want to use a third-party
No,
consignment.
I think those were those two. But
Yeah.
Mike Grogan did pay $7,500 for ladder 28, engine 28, 10 years ago, and it'd be good if we got the $7,500 back.
We might make a profit.
We'll try, I guess. Okay, so, and thank you for that, and we'll certainly end the meeting in Kenny's honor. Approval of minutes, the board has received and reviewed the minutes prepared by our secretary. They are the minutes for March 12th, 2019. Do I have a motion to accept those minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Dennis, and a second, Commissioners, all in favor? Aye, opposed? All right. Okay, we will now move on to, all right, so we have, real quick, and since we'll follow this up with the chief, we've had some going back and forth, even with the chief's report, some discussions about looking to purchase some new vehicles and other equipment for the district. Dennis voiced some interest along with you, myself. I know Tom has mentioned some stuff about a rescue boat. You're going to be looking into that to replace the boat that we have. So just get us the information. You started giving us some information. When you have something tangible that we say, this is the product, this is what you want, just bring it to us, and we look forward to doing that. Also, the chief's car, you're going to look into the state contract to see what's available, and then see if we can recycle down the other car through the ranks where it makes sense and get rid of that. And maybe we even might have another surplus along with an engine for a Tahoe or a whatever. Ladder truck and specs, you've started looking into specs for a new ladder truck?
Yep.
Did you have anything that you wanted to present as far as where you're leaning, what we can expect, make or size, anything?
I've been looking at the Pierce Ascendant ladder. Not 100% definite on that. I am going to check other manufacturers. The Pierce Ascendant ladder, they offer a 750-pound tip load, which is stronger than ladder 16 we have currently. It's a 170-foot reach. It's a 100-foot horizontal extension, but it's 7 feet on the turntable, so it reaches 107 feet. Primarily, it comes in a single axle. It offers that 750-pound tip load on a single axle, and it also offers the TAC4 front independent suspension as we bought on the engines, and that gives it great maneuverability on the tight streets in Bronxville and Tuckahoe, where it'll be primarily serving. So I've been looking at that one. There are other trucks out there, as I mentioned to you, that can go greater inclines and declines on hills. So that one's limited, I think, at 6 or 7% incline or decline. There's one manufacturer that offers a truck that'll operate on a 10-degree incline, which has benefits because we do have a lot of hills, but it's probably offered in a tandem axle, which makes it less maneuverable, so I'm weighing all those different things. So I'm not, I haven't decided totally on one thing. I am, shopping around, but I've narrowed it down to a few candidates.
15's a single axle, but it's a light truck.
Yes, it has a standard duty aerial, and it also only has A-frame outriggers in the back, which it gives it very much limited. Yeah, when you operate off the side at low angles, you can only go out 55 feet.
Right, but everything else we have is dual axle.
Tandem axles, yes,
axle.
yeah.
I would think tandem axle would be better, wouldn't it? I mean, isn't it more durable?
So it has to do with the strength of the ladder, because the stronger ladders get heavier. So Pierce has manufactured, they're owned by Oshkosh. They've developed their own proprietary steel for the ladder itself, and it has extra welds in where the trusses come together. So they have a lighter weight ladder that can hold 750-pound tips load, which is stronger than many of them out on the market, and it's offered because it's lighter, it's offered in a single axle. You need the double axle for the weight.
Wait, that's what I was
So
thinking.
this ladder truck is lighter, they can offer a strong ladder in a single axle offering.
It's 11 and a half feet high, probably.
11 feet 8, so, which is the problem with most of the ladder trucks, even, any of the rear mounts are going to be over 11 feet tall at this point. We cannot get, like we have on ladder 16, we're not going to get that low clearance
Profile is-
ladder anymore, so.
Okay, thanks, Chief, appreciate
Sure.
it. So we'll just move into some quick, I guess, correspondence and discussion regarding our construction projects. So the chief, myself, Commissioner Winter, a few weeks back, we were in Bronxville. We did a little bit of a walkthrough. We are moving forward with the roof project slowly, but we're being steadfast. So the hope is eventually to put together an RFP, get that roof project out, hopefully get it bidded and have it replaced along with all the drainage issues in that building. Hopefully that RFP will go out before August, we hope. So that we can get started on that. Chester Heights exterior, last Friday, Commissioner Carlo, myself, Commissioner Laurie, the chief, FSI, and BJB Construction, who is currently the contractor working on the exterior of Chester Heights, did the last formal punch list review of the construction, some matters that were still outstanding with exterior, whether it be anchors, some wood that wasn't replaced, bricks that needed to be repointed, the second floor, windows, etc. So we are waiting for FSI to provide that punch list copy to us so we know what's going on. The one thing that is good that I can say to all the commissioners who weren't there, it seemed that BJB was very motivated to get these things done and was not in any way seemingly standoffish in their responsibility in closing out these matters. So that is a good thing that hopefully it will be closed out in the next month or so. And the Chester Heights interior update, the board is still trying to finalize an A&E through these proposals for the interior. We are hopeful that we'll be able to come back in May and be able to put something down that says this is how we're moving forward. We are potentially going to have a secondary meeting in the month of April, primarily focused on A&Es, interior, Chester Heights, et cetera, which the public will be invited to. So as soon as we can lock down a date that'll work, we'll have our secretary send out a notice, and the public will be invited to be present for those discussions. The only thing that I have left before our tail end would be, we had an order put out with the volunteers, Chief, and you were waiting on some information coming back. Has that come through?
Yeah, I got the information and all the letters went out. I sent them out certified, return receipt requested. I was able, from Tom Vishy, he provided 7 of the 8 companies. I believe the only company we didn't have a contact for was the ladder truck in Tuckahoe. So the other 7 companies he had contact information for, and that information went out today.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you.
oh, was it truck 2 then, maybe wasn't? Okay.
All right, Chief will update us later on with that. Local 916? No report. Volunteers, anything? No? Yes? Tom? Okay?
One item.
Yes,
Back on February 2nd, I attended a seminar and submitted all the paperwork
right.
for reimbursement. Are we reimbursing or not?
Undecided. Right now, all of our educational reimbursements are on hold and tabled. The commissioners, we have not sat down to actually do any of the reimbursements yet for this year. So when we do, we will let you know.
We got to back up because there were 7 members of the department that were there. 6 of them have been reimbursed. 1 of them hasn't. Why? It's not like we ran out of money. It's $40.
It's correct. It is $40. At this time, the board hasn't moved with paying it. That's the long and the short of it. We're hopeful that we'll have a discussion. Maybe at our second meeting in April, we'll be able to put this to bed, but for right now, the board hasn't moved forward with it.
This is February. You came
I
back and
understand.
told me at the March meeting that you were going to have a discussion. Now, here we are at April.
That's
and
correct.
You're still having a discussion about it.
That is correct. We are.
I don't understand what needs to be discussed. I was reimbursed last year, the year before that, and 15 years before that. Now, all of a sudden, I'm not being reimbursed. I don't understand it.
I understand the frustration, and we're working on it. to have the conversation and give you a definitive answer. I understand it's not much, but that's where we're at.
Take 5 minutes and discuss it now. I mean, it's not that hard of a discussion to do. It's either yes or it's no. I don't understand what the discussion needs to be beyond that.
I understand that, but right now, that's where the board's at, where it's tabled with some other reimbursements that we have, and hopefully we'll have a clear-cut answer for that in April. That's where it is. It's not alone. It's not the only reimbursement on our
Can I
list.
ask when your secondary meeting in April is?
We haven't discussed it, but hopefully it'll be sometime between the 23rd and the 30th
Of this month?
of this month, of April.
And Mr. Vichy is correct. He did provide the 5 engines and the 2 ladder trucks.
Okay,
So
good.
we do have, they all went out today,
And when do you think they're going to have that stuff back to you?
as soon as possible.
As soon as possible?
Yeah, I mean, the date that was on there was March 26th or so. The date had already come and gone. So,
So it's likely by our next meeting, they'd all bring it in to us.
hopefully,
Hopefully.
Okay, so we'll follow up on that at the next meeting. That's fine. Commissioners' reports. Commissioner Carly, you have anything?
Nothing.
Commissioner Roach? Commissioner Winter?
No, other than the membership seems to be happy with their new engine 27, but everything else is good.
Oh, well, that's tomorrow, right? Anthony?
Yes, I know it's springtime, and homeowners and gardeners are cleaning the yards up. Please, and I ask 1,000 times, I guess people don't hear, or people just don't listen, don't pile the stuff in front of the fire hydrants. People are piling bags of leaves right on the fire hydrants. I saw a couple fire hydrants in Tuckahoe, they weren't even bagged, just piled right in front of the fire hydrants. People don't understand that it's only seconds when a fire starts and the men have to hook up to that hydrant. Aside from putting their yard use out, they pile all their junk, their debris out there also. Please, keep clear of the hydrants. That's all I ask. And one other thing, I just wanted to know, was it a mistake, Chief? Usually when a person passes away, we keep the bunting up for 30 days. I've seen Ken Herbert's taken down before the 30 days. Was there a mistake taken?
I'll have to talk to Tim about that. Yeah, I didn't know that he took it down already.
Yeah, because the actual 30 days is the 13th of this month.
Right.
So I was just wondering if it blew off and it came off, or that was just removed.
I'll talk to Tim about it.
Okay.
I don't know why he removed it. Yeah, Tim
No,
Dalton,
I'm
the
not saying he
maintenance guy.
removed it. It could possibly, when we had that day with a lot of wind, it might have blown off too. I'm just asking.
Yep.
Okay, thank
I'll
you,
let
Chief.
know. Yeah.
All right,
And we also had, just for those people who don't know, we had the memorial mass for Vinnie Spadaro, and it went successful. And I also want to thank Commissioner Roach for doing the lecturing up that evening, and it went very well for those who attended.
all right, great, thank you. The only thing that I have to comment on tonight is just more or less a public service announcement. As many people in the town, those who reside in Eastchester, 10709, 10583, parts of Chester Heights, you'll notice that March begins the municipal protection fire program charge appearing on your water bills. What you will see is a prorated rate, most likely from Suez. The real rate will come into effect in April. So if you have any questions regarding that, how they've calculated it, I've called myself, they'll take your phone calls, but you should check out their website and put in the zip code and go to the Trade Commission's documents that basically shows you charts and a lot of information about how that's being worked out. The one thing I do want to note is that if any building here in the town, because, I mean, Bronxville and Tuckahoe probably have already taken care of this. For those people who live in the town, if you have fire suppression systems, specifically a sprinkler, already inside either your house, your business, your commercial property, you can apply for an exemption from this charge by providing them proof of a backflow test being performed. So I would encourage you to call Suez and see whether or not you would be entitled to take advantage of this exemption. And that would be it. Other than that,
We should
that's
also
all.
mention that we have no control, we had no, that changeover has nothing to do with the fire district.
Correct.
We didn't-
You'll read that in the Public Trade Commission documentation, that this is between Suez and that commission. The district has no control over the hydrants. It does, however, in that document say that the fire district should maintain or advise Suez if a hydrant is not working, but there is no actual legal language in that contract that makes them required to going out there and actually maintain it, just says that they will. So if you do see a problem with a hydrant, do not report it to the fire district, report it to Suez, just like we do. Any of this municipal fire protection money is going right to the water department. So if you have any questions about this charge, you do need to contact Suez directly. The fire department is out of the loop on this charge. Okay?
Commissioner, just one other thing, there is no Tuckahoe Eastchester Memorial Day Parade, but there is a memorial service in Eastchester High School in the auditorium at 7 p.m. on May 26th. I don't know if you got the word on it yet, Chief. I got the papers in my car. I forgot to give them to you. The service is there. And then I did want to ask you, Chief, if you could possibly provide a generator on the monument on the end of Stewart Avenue. They're going to have a little memorial service there after they come out of the auditorium for lights.
Provide lighting, or?
Yes, to
Yeah, well,
provide
we
lighting.
have some spare generators.
Yeah, that's what I had meant to ask you that earlier during this week. And the volunteer memorial service is that same day at 9 o'clock Sunday morning at the Assumption Church. And then we're going to have the unveiling of the plaque for Vinnie Spadaro by his tree.
Okay,
And that's right after the Mass. The Mass is 9 o'clock, so probably we'd start there around 10, Tom? Pretty close to 10 o'clock. And the VFW will be there with the firing squad also. We will have an engine up there, can't we, Chief?
sure. Yeah, we put one there every year.
Yeah.
I know we talked about having the plaque for Vinnie. Do you-
Yeah, and you just give it to me when it's ready, and I'll set it in the ground.
So you want Tim to build that concrete?
Yeah,
thing,
set it
like
in
a holder?
concrete,
Sure.
yeah. And I'll plant it
Yep.
because I'm working on the monument now, getting it all prepared for it.
Okay, yep.
Okay. I would make a motion to retire into executive session after a moment of silence for Kenny Herbert. Would ask for a second.
Second.
All
Also,
right.
I'd like to add Captain Pintaval's mother to that also. She
Sure.
passed away on that.
Absolutely, no problem. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Thank you.